Well, welcome back, everybody, to the Black Doctors Talk podcast. I am your host, Dr. Christopher Holmes, member of the Black Doctoral Network. Well, again, I'm back with another amazing guest. And of course, you guys know I don't come to disappoint you. So this time I brought somebody who's going to talk specifically about the world of finance, something that I know we all need to know more about. My guest today is the amazing Dr. Jennoa Graham. She's an international public speaker, author, professor, and adjunct executive team leader. Her 20-year career of combined multinational corporate accounting and consulting experience reflects core values of transparency, integrity, corporate accounting, efficiency, sustainability, resulting in listen to me, people, multi-million-dollar savings. Most recently, she has broadened her platform as a speaker and educator in the areas of business, finance, and leadership. So go ahead, take that seatbelt, buckle up, take those ears, open them up, and receive the information we're going to learn today about Dr. Graham. Dr. Graham, welcome so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Listen, I'm excited because I know there's some things you're going to teach me about my finances. You're going to be stepping on my toes a little bit probably, but I'm here to receive all that you're going to give me. So let's start. You didn't wake up and you didn't pop out of the womb as Dr. Graham. So talk about your younger self. Who was Dr. Graham as a younger individual?
Well, as a younger individual, I was very much in survival mode. And I'm going to do a little plug here. I have a book that I wrote called Cyanidation, The Refinement of My Life, where I talk about the first 35 years of my life. But as a child, dealing with, a lot of childhood trauma, dealing with mental illness in the home, I really became a logical person, sort of fact over fiction, and just took joy where I could, but I was down to business and down to earth the majority of the time.
Wow. Yeah, I love what you just said there. I took joy where I could. Mm-hmm. You could really take me somewhere with there, but I'm not going to do it. But y'all better receive what she just said. She took joy where she could. And where there was not joy, she left it. Mm-hmm. How is that a Reverend Dr. Graham on there somewhere?
No, we're not reverend, but I am a born again believer. So you will hear that throughout this episode.
So how did that or those experiences help translate into the person you are today?
Yes, I am no nonsense. I'm all about business. If I know something needs to be taken care of, whether I'm in charge or somebody else is in charge, if I know it needs to be done, it has to be done. And there are no excuses. I am going to go through whatever lengths I have to go through within the legal limits, let me clarify, to get it done and get it done on time and in excellence. Excellence is very important. High integrity is very important to me. Goals are set for a reason, and I believe we all have a purpose. So let's fulfill the purpose.
Yeah, I'm with you. So when did you become passionate, fall in love with the world of finance?
I fell in love with finance late in life. I was a teen single mom. And so finances were very important to me. That got pushed to the top of the list.
Yeah.
And so just listening to some close friend of mine, my best friend's mother was very instrumental in picking accounting as a career for me. I just picked up from what she had said something to me and ran with it. But over the years, I've learned that finances is a way to kind of minister to people. Everybody needs it. Everybody doesn't know how to deal with it. So I find my purpose and my place in helping people understand what finances mean to them and then help them find ways to make finance work for them.
Wow. I love how you said, first of all, let's go back. Everybody has somebody that plants a seed and we don't even know like that person's purpose in our life. So you never knew meeting your friend's mother that she would be responsible for your career path, right?
Right.
I think that's beautiful. And then the other thing I think you're absolutely right is finance is something that we can't get away from. Although I think in our community, it's something that we don't like talking about.
Yes. And I find that because I'm holistic, but we are talking about the Black community today. A lot of Black homes don't deal with finances because they don't have it. And then those that do have it don't brag or boast or talk about that they have it. So you have to fill in that gap. because there's
Right.
people that, want to learn about it, but they don't know who to ask and they don't know what to ask. And so they end up staying quiet. Well, where I step in is I look for those opportunities where people help. And then in a gentle way, I offer them an opportunity to ask the questions or just have the conversation to bring it out.
So when we think about finance, what is one thing you think we all need to know or understand about finance?
You need to understand what it means to you, how you use it, and how the world uses it. Once you
Mm.
understand those three things, you form a plan on how to navigate your finances to get what you need to answer the questions that you need in this world, to answer all things.
So when we come to you, should we come to you with goals in mind, or should we come to you asking and seeking for understanding that we can get to the goals a little bit later?
It's a combination of both. It depends on where you are. So when I'm dealing with multinational corporations, they already understand money, right? So all they need is the goal. So I help them reduce costs so they can meet their goals. If I'm dealing with an individual client or a small business client, they may not necessarily have a goal in mind, but they have questions on how to deal with the day-to-day financing so that they can make goals later once they actually see the money coming in. Because it's really hard when you're working really hard and all your money's coming in, but all your money's going out and you're not able to save. And we all know we're supposed to save, but how do you save when you don't know how to save and all your money's going out the door?
Yeah, especially for small businesses out. Okay, she's already stepping on my toes, right? We're trying to make this work with a limited budget and limited personnel. And so it's all on you as you continue to provide services. And so that's a great point. So I think for me, it's like, if I come to you, I'm going to ask you, in terms of setting aside and savings, let's talk about what's realistic for me based on what my revenue is, which sometimes shifts from month to month, right? Based on my services, based on my clients, based on my interactions. One month, hey, I'm balling out of control in my mind. And the next month, I'm like, kind of slim this month. So I think people need to understand, you've got to take maybe those funds, and you tell me, how do I take those funds and make sure that they can spread across several months? Because if I'm not sure how the next month looks, right, I cannot make a total investment on that one pocket of money.
Exactly. It starts with the household budget. Well, any budget. You have to know what you're going to spend and what you're planning to spend. Even if you don't know the exact dollars, you have estimates, right? So you live in
Right.
your home, you live in your apartment, your light bill is going to run you, between $50 and $200, depending on how much you leave the lights on. Every month, where that range is. Well, you can budget for that for the next 6 months if you've been paying attention. The key is paying attention. There's a lot of people out there, they just get the bill and pay the bill, but they don't sit down and say, is this bill realistic? Do I have a leak? Is somebody coming and siphoning electricity from me? Being a homeowner, at one point in my life, there was homeless people that were plugging into the outside jacks of the home and using them while we were asleep. So if you have a spike in your electric bill that's out of the norm, then ask questions. It's okay to call up that bill company and say, hey, what's going on? What's made a change? Explain this to me. You don't have to be an expert, just ask questions.
Great idea. You guys heard it, right? It's another gem she just dropped. She's just dropping them, asking questions. So you're in the world of finance. What would you say has been the most exciting part of your job or your journey so far?
The most exciting part of my journey is I've lived in 3 states all of my life, and I've been in various industries, and I've been able to help a variety of people, from individuals to multinational corporations, and just seeing the satisfaction on my clients' faces as I grow with them, as they reach their goals. So it may start off with a small goal, but once, when you see somebody set a goal and they accomplish, there's no better feeling.
Now let's go on the other side. What's been the most challenging part of what you do?
I used to have a saying that I envied medical doctors, because when they're dealing with a patient, they can put them under anesthesia and do all the work they need to do, and then leave them in a room and let them recover. In the
Yeah.
business world, we don't have that luxury. So we have to deal with the attitudes and the fighting and we have to really work on our conflict resolution.
Yeah.
Become very good at that over the years. In
Yeah.
my younger days, it was on.
Yeah. There's no anesthesiologist in the room with you to put them back under. Hey, more gas, please. They're talking too much.
Right. Gotta talk it out.
Oh,
De-escalation.
and you do so many things. And I love that you said that this is this is your calling. Like, this is a ministry for you. And so that means this is different. This is just not how you earn your living. This is what you are supposed to be doing with people. And so
Mhm.
I love that you view it that way. So what ultimately made you think or made you consider going back to school and getting your doctorate?
Well, my second doctorate that I achieved in 2019 I was instructed to do so by my overseer, Thomas A. Pulliam Sr. of Heaven's Harvest Ministry. He said I needed a degree from Georgia, and God led him to tell me that was my next path. And I was like, but I already have one. I don't need another.
I know, right?
But yeah, but in my obedience, doors have opened. Part of the GSU network is how I discovered BDN. So I attribute my going back to school opening other doors that opened this door here today. When I originally started my PhD journey, I was a part that did a lot of organizational change, massive organizational change in a very short amount of time. And they really didn't give one vision a chance to work all the way through before they put in another one. So being a supervisor at the time, it was all falling on my shoulders to make
Mm,
sure things happened. And so I went back to school, organizational leadership, so we can hit that bottom line faster. And
yeah.
we did.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Wow. A lot of people get into the realm of doctorate because of the title, right? But I
Mhm.
think you went back because you needed to understand the responsibility that you had been given, and having a degree and that new understanding was going to make you be more effective in your position. And now you've gone back, you've got another degree, open up more doors. I mean, I think people have to enter into this journey. Number one, being intentional and being
Mhm.
committed to see it until the very, very end. Because would you agree? It's challenging.
Yes, it's very challenging. And you not only need a support system to finish, you need a support system for application,
Yeah.
because there's no sense in spending all this money, or even if you have a grant or scholarship to get this degree and not use it. I mean, it's fine if you want personal accolades to say that you did something for personal accomplishment. We all need that from time to time. But this is a big title that requires a big responsibility, and you need to have a plan for using it.
Yeah. And one of the things we really do support and advocate here at BDN is mentorship, right?
Yes.
Guiding people, number one, through the process, for those that are in it, those that are interested. But when you finish, we talk about fellowships,
Yes.
finding careers, getting into post-secondary and higher ed positions, adjuncts. Like, there's so many opportunities out there that we always don't know about. And so finding somebody that's doing what you want to do is important. And I say that to lead into this question. If there's somebody who's watching you and they're seeing your journey, what's one piece of advice you would give them that you wish you knew before you started?
Get a mentor and get that plan of application before you start the program.
Mhm.
If I'd have known that almost 20 years ago, when I got my first PhD, I believe my career trajectory would look very different.
Yeah.
And I did it twice. So um, during the time that I was getting my PhD, I got my first one in 2008 and then my second one in 2019. And if you remember, both of those years were economic downturns.
Yeah.
So at the time that I was getting my degrees, there were no jobs. There was nothing available at the time upon my graduation. So having, that support system and that plan of action in place before starting the program is extremely important.
So you talked about your support system. What did your support system look like?
Oh, mine was friends and family. My son at the time, I told you I was a teen mom. So by the time I got my first doctorate, he was in high school. Um, And so he was my biggest cheerleader, in between
Mhm.
all the stuff he had to do. His parents, we got
Right.
to rip and run. But just my friends and family, and with my second degree, my church, Heaven's Harvest Ministries, was my biggest supporter. My entire church came to my graduation, and it was noticeable.
Oh my
And it was
goodness.
talked about
Wow.
and highly respected. Yes, they took up an entire section of the graduation hall. Mhm.
Wow. That's amazing. Now I've never heard that story before. I need to check my membership to see what's going on with my people at my church. Okay. Anyway, moving on. In your career right now, who would you say has had the biggest impact on you in your work?
My overseer, Thomas A. Pulliam Sr., he has opened a lot of doors. He has supported me. He has pushed me. He has been my spiritual father in the gospel. I've only been in Georgia for 10 years, and my father passed away back in 2013. So he has been the father figure in my life and in my career here in Georgia, and it has been amazing.
Wow. Wow. Now I've got to get into this name. Now you are Dr. Jennoa Graham, but also you're Dr. GNP. Talk a little bit more about how you got that title.
God gave me that title when I was attending Georgia State, getting this last PhD, and I say last, um, because I wanted to move into my purpose. We all
Yeah.
have, goals and dreams. And because of how my life is, if you read my book, my story is different than most. So Dr. GMP was my way of embracing God's calling for me to get into the community and actually do things, because I was hearing a lot of talk. And so I'm tired of talk. And so we
Mhm.
getting out into the community. And so that's what we're doing.
Now, now we talk about purpose work.
Yes.
And so I know that you have founded two organizations. You have the Educational Debt Cancellation Foundation, as well as the Utilitarian Financial Consulting Corporation. So let's talk about those separately. Let's start with EDCF first. What is that foundation really about? And let's talk a little bit about the work there.
So that is the nonprofit community piece. That's where I go out in the community and I teach whoever wants to listen about finances. I answer any questions that they have. I do one-on-one counseling, and we just have a good time. So I pick very scenic or serene areas around Georgia, looking to expand that in a couple years. And we just come together and have a good time and just educate the community on finance. And then we have prizes and food, and it's just a wonderful time. The money that is raised from those events, right now we're helping single mothers pay off student loan debt. But eventually I would like it to grow to have more scholarships to get rid of the $1.7 trillion in educational debt that we have. It's just crazy. It's just
Wow.
crazy.
Wow. So let's go to the next one, because we could talk about debt all day long, especially with education in
Yeah.
our community. But I love what you're doing there, helping single mothers. And of course, there's that personal connection for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about UFCC.
Okay, so Utilitarian Financial Consulting. I picked the name because I like to help. So Utilitarian it
Mhm.
literally means helping others. And so I help others in finance. And so that is the company that I book my billable hours to when I'm working in the corporate world and then when I'm doing taxes.
This lady is working, I don't know how much time there is in one day, but she's filling it up. And I love what you're doing. I mean, it is just not a conversation I can remember having when I was younger. We didn't talk about finances. I knew
Mhm,
there were bills needed to be paid, and that was it. We didn't talk about savings. There's this whole conversation now. We talk a lot about generational wealth. Um,
mhm.
and people are wanting to leave something for their children and grandchildren and their children, which I think is a beautiful thing. But for us as a community, it's a bit of a challenge, right?
It
Um,
is.
yeah, so let's
Mhm.
talk a little bit about that.
So with that, so through EDCF and then more with the Dr. GMP is my, persona, as you might say, going out in the community to teach about generational wealth. People need to know more about it, and they need more options. The stock market is not the only place where you can build generational wealth. And then you also have to define it. Generational wealth means something different to everybody.
Yeah.
Not everybody wants to have millions and millions of dollars to leave their family members. Some people just want their children and their grandchildren to have a better life and not have to work as hard as they did. So you have to decide what that means for you and what you want that to look like for your family. And that's part of what I do, is helping to define that and then putting a plan in action for that. On top of that, how I'm using my current research is I've developed a patent pending, economic wealth index that I will be rolling out in the next couple of years that will actually help people identify where their problem areas is in their finances, and then actually help them with tools and a strategy to help change it.
So the one thing, well, there's several things that you said that I love. The first thing is this: people have to define their own interpretation of a lot of things, including generational wealth. So it may not look the same for you that it does for a friend of yours, right?
Yes.
You have two different goals. You may be in two different positions. And so you can't compare your idea, your goals to somebody else. It's your own personal definition. So I love that. People, stop looking at other folks. Okay.
Yeah, stay away from social media. Stop it. If you're planning, don't make your financial goals off, so stop it.
Yeah, because that stuff is rented. It's not even theirs half the time.
Exactly.
So we got to be realistic. And then the other thing is, for those that are in the doctoral programs, you said the way I'm using my research. So
Yes.
she didn't go get a degree, guys, and just blow it away, right? She's actively using it. And I always tell people, and like you said before, don't go and get a degree for accolades or title. Do something with it, especially this degree. If you're going to spend this money and this amount of time and sacrifice to get a doctorate, be willing to now activate it. Because if not, it's just a document. It's just something on paper. And I say that I'm using mine, you're using yours. And so we're encouraging everybody, if you go and get it, do something with it. So we're going to be praying for that patent. We know it's going to come out. I mean, listen, your pastor already has his hand on you. So, I mean, he told you to go back and get it. I don't know what you want me to say. The sky's the limit. The sky's going to open up. Rain's going to fall down. It's just blesses overflow. I just want to be somewhere near the table where the overflow is dipping so I can just get a drop. If I can just get a drop, what does the song say? Even me. It's just a drop. I just want a drop of it, people. That's all.
Yes, this is a God-sanctioned initiative, and I'm happy to share it. God is using me for His purpose and His glory, and I'm okay with that.
I believe that. I think you're walking in a space that needs to be opened up. Now, there are several. I'm not going to say several. There are a lot of people who are doing this more. I think about the podcast with the two young men. I can't think of it. But they talk about wealth and investment, and a lot of people listen to the podcast, but sometimes we need somebody that we can actually put our hands on, that we can see and touch. And so you being in communities makes a difference, and it's a different voice. It's a different perspective. It's a different look, because you're not a male, you're a female talking about finances. And for me, who better to talk to other women, especially when we're talking about the demographic of African-American successful women, right? There's a lot of people out there. And I think you can really connect with them and support them and utilize their finances in a very diverse yet efficient way to support themselves and their children and their children's children. I think it's amazing. I really do. And fellas, we're not counting you out. We're not counting out the fellas. She's there for you too. Okay.
I am. I have a very diverse mix of married couples, business owners, single mothers, individuals. I run the gamut. If you have a need, I'm a help.
So what keeps you motivated?
These days, God keeps me motivated. I'm getting older. You know how that goes. The older you get.
Get out of here.
But the satisfaction of helping people and knowing that I am doing what God has asked me to do is what keeps me going. Mhm.
How proud is your son of you? Because he's seen you go through different phases. You're growing and expanding, and he's older now. So what does he think about mom now?
He continues to be supportive and he keeps learning new things. I don't know how he keeps learning new things about me, but he read a pamphlet that I had on one of my businesses, and he asked me about it. And because a lot of the stories that I tell are about being a single mom, and he was like, "Mom, I didn't know that story." I was like, "Well, we've talked about it, but you were 5 months old at the time. It's okay."
Now
But it's
this
just a joy to watch him.
I am interested because as a mother, and you are very skilled in the world of finance, how are you helping him navigate and understand about finances?
I'm advising. My son is 28, and as a 28-year-old male, from age 14 to now, you know how that goes if
Yeah.
or a parent. So it is a struggle. But the key with him was getting him around other men. And so having a church family that was very family oriented, was, men leadership, period, help reinforce what I taught him, because every child thinks that their parent doesn't know anything after a while.
Right.
But seeing other people turn to me and actually learn from me and use what they learned from me kind of helped him come back around and say, "Okay, mom, let's talk about that again."
Yeah.
And that's been a blessing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. That modeling, and like you said, my children are younger, but I try to expose them to how I operate versus just telling them a bunch of stuff. And so, and for me, it's important for my children, just like you, for them to see me at work, right?
Mhm.
So if I'm doing a speaking engagement, or if I am inside of a school and I can take them, I take them with me. I want them to see daddy work, and then to see how daddy goes from work and how he navigates his finances at home. And I try to teach them about responsible spending. So if I give you $1, right, what are you going to do with that dollar? Are you going to
Yeah.
waste it at the dollar store? And unfortunately, you don't even have enough change to cover the tax, or you're just still going to need me to give you the rest of it, right? Or do you want to save it to buy something later? And so my daughter's 6, and so she has her tooth fairy money right now on her shelf, and she's saving it because she said,
Good.
"Daddy, I don't know what I want to buy yet, so I'm just gonna save it." And so that just means she's just cheap like me. That's all that means.
That's a good thing. Be cheap now, spend later.
Yeah. And I love that she's willing to sacrifice or delay gratification for a little bit later, trying to make it those smart and wise decisions. So you talked about the patent. Is what's coming up next for you besides that?
I am actually, based on my book, I'm releasing a jewelry line. So I have yes, that face. Yes, it will be debuting at some point in this year. We're at the ending stages where we're talking about marketing and pricing and things of that nature. But I have some manufactured pieces based on the symbol on the front of my book that is quite exciting. Quite exciting.
Oh, very nice. We gotta keep us abreast of that, and when it's gonna launch, I'm sure people are gonna be excited. And give us the name of your book again.
It's called Cyanidation, The Refinement of My Life. It's a memoir. The easiest way to find it is that you put my name in the search on Amazon and it'll come right up.
I think we need to go get that book, people, because I think that book is harvesting a lot of things we need to read. And I think it's going to help us make some connections to Dr. GNP. So if you don't, go and get it. I'm promoting you. You don't have to promote it. I'll promote it for you. Free advertisement.
Well, thank you. To God be the glory. I accept it.
So in the next 10, 20, 30 years, when you decide to retire and you just want to rest and enjoy the rest of your life, what do you want your legacy to be?
My legacy is changing how people view generational wealth and what they need to do to get it, because there's more than one way and there's more than one definition. And if I can make at least one person just, sit down and achieve those goals, then that's my legacy.
I love it. Shifting mindsets. And remember, y'all, she's not talking about just individuals. She's talking about corporations too. You know, you guys can have goals or definitions of what you want your business to look like. And if you want to sit down with somebody to help you kind of navigate, push through, maybe dig up some stuff, Dr. GNP is a person you need to be talking to. So we talk about both personal and professional ways of really dealing with and enhancing your finances to create that generational wealth. Now, I know you've been with since the COVID. You're one of our COVID babies, so you're fairly new. So we're, number one, excited to have you on the podcast because you bring such a great insight and perspective into the world of finance. But we also want to know, what are you looking to gain from this relationship with us?
Looking to like network and have more PhD people to kind of network and talk and kind of feel the pulse of what's happening. I am in the university world, but I'm more into the practice and the consulting side. So networking with other consultants, just talking shop and hanging out and just having that more career-oriented support in the field is what I'm looking for BDN.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, it's so great because sometimes when we're working, we feel isolated, and then you join organizations like BD, and we find that 3 or 4 or 5 other people doing the same work, and we can really have some really passionate conversations. Why? Because we love what we do, and sometimes we can challenge each other. We give access and connections to things and people we didn't even know about. So BD is a great place to come and land, feel heard, feel value, and as you said, connect and make networks with other people. It's just a great space. And we're so happy that you joined us. I don't care if it was because the world had to shut down that you found us. Whatever happened, we're glad that you joined BDN and we're able to share your message and your skills with everybody else. And so thank you for joining me today here on the podcast. If you don't mind, tell people where they can go to learn more about you and all the work that you're doing. And of course, where they can go and get that book.
Where you can go to my website. It's www.drgnp.com. You can find my book on the Amazon website, and then I'm also on LinkedIn.
All right, guys, you heard it. Dr. GNP, this woman has purpose. Again, thank you so much for joining. Thank you for sharing with us. While you're going to follow Dr. GNP on all of her handles and her networks, take a little bit of time, connect and follow BDN on all of our channels. We would love to share with you. And remember, we're going to come back next week with another amazing guest. We have so many amazing people in this organization. So I have somebody I'm coming back with. We're going to share with you again. Please follow us, like us, share, subscribe to our channels, and we will look forward to seeing you next time. But until then, like I always say, please be safe. Most importantly, be blessed. See you again, guys.